Welcome back, my favorite gamers and developers. Let's talk about dice. Psychedelics added some really cool properties to handle all your dice roll needs. And if you want to see some videos about that, I will post some links below to Dan and Psychedelics' page. I want to be a little bit more hands-on approach, but I couldn't write anything better than what Psych did. So instead, I'm just using what he did, just a little bit more manually. It seems like every game I play has its own shtick when it comes to dice rolls, and I'm certain I could do any kind of dice roll that I need to with Psychedelics property window. But I like to code. So let me show you what I did. In some games I play, including the World of Darkness, you usually roll an attribute and a skill. Sometimes you have an additional modifier and possibly more. So I created an attribute and a skill box, and I filled them up with some values, basically just through strength, dex, and stamina in one, and fight, shoot, dodge in the other. When I build this for an actual World of Darkness game, there will be 6 of these boxes that will have a lot more values in them. What I wanted to be able to do is click on the dice here and say I want to roll these 2 fields. So dexterity of 2, fight of 1, and when I hit roll, we should see 3 dice roll across the screen. And then it'll pop up what we rolled. And the hand rolled dexterity 2, fight 1, difficulty 6, and we got 2 successes. So roll could go into this first window list, look for which dice are red, then grab the values from that, and then continue on to the next window list, and so on and so forth. But in the World of Darkness, that's going to be immediately 6 window list. Then there's also sometimes other skills and other attributes and powers and gifts, and this could go for a potentially really long time looking through all of them. So I got creative. And when I click on this dice, what this does is it's going to grab this node and it's going to load it up into a list that I have in a Lua file. And then when I click load or roll, it will go to that Lua file and roll all the dice from that list and then uncheck them as it goes. This helps speed it up a little bit faster. We probably wouldn't have ever noticed with our own eyes, but if you're playing a game and you get some lag for some reason or another, you will notice then. So how did I do it? Well, let's go over to Ruleset Wizard. In Ruleset Wizard, I created a combat screen, and I added the 2 windows. This information will be covered in a future video. I'm not 100% done with it yet. But in these 2 lists, I have them preload the values that go in here. I created a Lua file called skill list, and it has the attributes. There's 3 of them here, and the skills. There's 3 of them here. When this goes into another game, I can create more lists to go into more windows. Then back over here, it checks to see if it's empty, and if it is, it's going to fill up that list with the values from in here. And it will do the same thing for skill. Then the details that are in this list have the dice that I added through here. I have the black die and the red die. And then I have the field for name, and then I have the counter list for its value. The counter list is connected to skill value and skill value max, which are these 2 fields that are out here. I put them out here because, well, I didn't really need them on screen, and it hides them fairly well. The only field that's in here that actually has some code is this skill toggle. And when we click this, it will get its current index. It will cycle it to the next value. Then it will get its current index, and then it will grab the node, this entire thing, and it will send that into Skill Manager, add dice roll. If we turn it from red to black, it's going to go into Skill Manager, remove dice or die from roll. So let's look at what's in the Skill Manager. This is a Lua file I put together, and it basically this is a list or a table as Lua calls it. And when the application first opens, it generates it as this is a table. And if we add die to roll, it's just quite simply the node that gets passed in. I'm inserting that into that table. If I'm removing the dice from roll, it goes in and it searches for the skill, the node skill that matches. Once it finds it, it will remove that node from the table. And then down here, this is send roll. The roll button is collecting the name of the attack and the dice total. And so it goes to skill manager send roll. And then in here, this is setting up the skill total, setting up the display skill, and then it does a check to see if this is first loop. I'm doing this mostly just because I want to add a plus sign to between each display skill. So when we're looking at it in Fantasy Grounds, you'll see it says stamina 3 plus dodge 3. How I'm adding that plus sign is checking to see if it's the first loop. If it's the first loop, I'm not going to add the plus sign. If anything past the first loop, I will make sure to add a plus sign to it. So it loops through the entire table, and it pulls out the name of the skill, and then the value of the skill. And then it sets up the display. The display is what was previously there, plus the new skill name, colon, and then we're putting the value of the skill in brackets. And the skill total is just going to continue adding the new value that we pull to the current total. Once that's done, we're going to reset the roll info, and we're going to return the display skill and the skill total back to these two fields, attack name and dice total. Standard difficulty in World of Darkness is 6, but really this could be anything depending on what kind of game we're going to be playing. Or actually, I should say the base difficulty is 6. And then we grab the character node, and we send it into the manager roles Lua file. So this I mostly got from using Psychedelics' properties window. I filled this entire piece out, and then I went and looked at what the code output was. After reading through it, I realized the pieces that I need, and I redid this using that as a base. And so what I'm doing in here is I pass in a bunch of values, and I'm setting up declarations. So I want to know my given type of attack, and then my in dice num, got the local. In dice num is going to equal the dice num plus the value that's given. So I'm going to pull the values of dice from the stack and the value that's given, and then I'm going to roll that many d10 in this case. This could be anything. This is where you set the dice string, so you could set it up however you want. I'm going to set up a roll handler, so after it's done rolling, it's going to go into here to check what do I do with these numbers. And then create roll description. This is where I pass in my given description. And then I'm also going to pass in information about the additional dice that I applied. Add that to the description. And then I set my game system actions. Now I'm not really using this in the template, but I do plan on using this in future systems. I want to know the difference of, am I just rolling an action, or am I rolling for attack or rolling for defense? And if there's any additional information, like in this case, I do want to be able to pass the difficulty number to the post roll, so I add that into here. And then I use Psychedelics' dice roller, send it through that, and it pops over to the post roll. And then here I'm basically generating a message. I set the icon of the character. If you want to know more about this, one of Dam's videos that I posted below, he talks about this a little bit more. And then I go and grab the value from the mod stack. Now I want to use, in this case, the mod stack to set the difficulty. So I'm taking my base difficulty number, and then I'm also pulling from the mod stack some additional information. And so the mod stack will add or subtract from the difficulty number, because in World of Darkness, sometimes they're going to say, that challenge is a little harder, so instead of difficulty 6, you're going to have difficulty 8, so add 2. So I'm going to scroll up on the mod stack, and that'll add 2 difficulty, and that will get calculated in my roll. And then here I'm just creating the text, and then I'm looping through each dice to say if it's a success or not. Now, Fantasy Grounds actually has a really good dice string that you can use if you're just counting successes. And this is just very simplistic because this is something I could quickly read and understand what was I doing here. So when I'm using it for other systems, I need to get a little bit more creative. So with the newer World of Darkness, if you roll 1 10, that's a success. But if you roll 2 10s, that's 4 successes. 3 10s is 5 success. 4 10s would be 8 successes. And basically what that says, what that's doing is every pair of 10s is doubling the successes. You can't really do that with a dice string, but you can uh, do it if you're manually handling it. So this is so when I need to handle some nuances, I can. Otherwise, I might just even remove this depending on the system. And then I deliver the message. And that's how we get this. So if I'm going to do my 4 strength, 1 fight, but I'm in a favorable condition, so I get additional 2 dice and it -1 difficulty. When I hit roll, I'm going to have 4, 5, 6, 7 dice, and I'm going to be rolling at difficulty 5. And so it shows 4 for strength, 1 for fight, +2 for bonus. Difficulty is 5, and that's because base 6 plus a bonus of -1. And then it highlights all the dice that rolled a success. So I wanted to show you the dice first because in future videos I have some really cool things coming up, and I didn't want to waste a lot of time showing what the dice are doing. So I hope you really enjoyed this. Maybe you can use this in your games. But until next time, keep gaming and keep developing.